I want to mention something now about Yogananda. I used to know this woman who gave what she called discourses, and it was when I was in Temecula, California, in the home of a woman named Lois Larson, where this lady named Ann-Hughes would give these discourses. And Ann was from Australia, and she was a professor in a university there, when she thought she was going crazy because she started seeing a pink light in her room every night. And she could hear a voice from this light, and she was not on any spiritual path, she said. She didn't know very much at all about the Bible or Jesus. And yet this experience was, what it turned out to be was, it was St. Francis of Assisi who was telling her that she had a strong connection with her, like maybe she was St. Francis in another life. And he even took her on an etheric trip in the past to the time when Francis was telling his father that he couldn't continue with the business that his father was in. Anyway, it was very interesting listening to Ann-Hughes, and some people called her Ann Francis because of her association with him. She spoke and taught as one that knew, not as one that was guessing or repeating somebody else's words, but she had experienced leaving her body and going into the etheric. And at one point, when we had questioned her about Yogananda, she said she met him when she was with some masters in the etheric. By the way, she called Jesus JC. Jesus said he didn't care what name he's called by. You could call him Fred if you wanted to. But she called him JC. And Yogananda talked to her there in that instant too. And what Yogananda said about his body when he died, how that it wasn't decomposing or anything, was because his body was in the process of becoming divinitized. But he left a little too early. And so he said, you, and he was talking of Anne, and all of us too, still alive in our bodies, we have an opportunity that he missed, and that was not to leave the body. And I think he chose to die, that he died during the middle of a speech. But had he stayed longer, he could have divinitized the body, because he was well on his way to doing that, and which was one of the reasons his body didn't deteriorate after his death. But he said, we have that privilege. We have the opportunity to divinitize the flesh while we are alive in this body on this earth. And I thought, wow, that's pretty great. And that's been something I've remembered for quite a while, that she had that conversation with him. And I don't know where Ann-Hughes is now. She never wanted followers. She never wanted a whole lot of reputation going on about her, because she wasn't here to do that. She wasn't at all interested in charging for her discourses, although people did leave money sometime, donations. One time she took all the money, which was quite a lot of money, that was donated, and right before everybody, she put it on a big platter and burned it up. She said, this is, I don't know how she said, I wasn't there for that occasion, but she was showing us that it's not about the money. And she said that's the last great hurdle that light workers have to overcome, is this thought that they need the money in order to survive. I mean, when St. Francis asked her to leave her home, her marriage, and just walk out into this world with only a suitcase with some clothes and a passport, she had to, rely on everything she had experienced for that year to know that she would be taken care of, and she always had. Miraculous things happened with Anne. Ways and means became available to her, and people that would host her in their homes and different things like that. I really enjoyed listening to her discourses. And had I been able to be a follower, I might would have followed her, but I don't even know where she is anymore. I'm sure she's still around, but if anyone listening to me hears of Ann-Hughes or Anne Francis, then let me know, because I would like to know where she is now. I know wherever she goes, she's not going to create a great fanfare about herself. But anyway, that was interesting, that we have the opportunity to divinitize the flesh. Oh, and she asked Jesus when she was with him. She said, I hear you healed a lot of people. And he said to her, he did not heal anyone. He said he only saw their perfection. And his seeing of their perfection is what healed them. Anyway, it was real interesting that I had the opportunity to meet her in my lifetime. She said some things to me that made me have a better attitude. Like, I used to try to defend myself, and I used to try to prove things. And she said, you're love. Just be love. And love has nothing to defend. It just is. And love has nothing to prove. It just is. But all of us would ask, well, how do we just be? We didn't know how to just be. We wanted to know what to do. We had our different ideas of things we thought we might want to do, have a metaphysical center and do this and that. And a lot of it was charging for our services, which she never encouraged that. And a lot of people had wished that she would, because some of the people who came to her did that sort of thing. And I'm not against that. I understand, that people have to charge. But I do believe we're moving into a time when that's not going to be any longer necessary. Anyway, I'll go on with the reading of this. Let me see. Oh, we were talking about the body of the soldier, of the man that the soldiers were told not to touch. The captain had spent a great many years in India and had a great respect for the Hindu people, and they also respected him. He explained to his soldiers that if they wished to observe this body, the company would halt here to see it, but they must give their word of honor that they would not attempt to touch the body, thus conforming to the wish of the people in that community. So many people have gone to view that body that the flagstones that lie around the canopy where his body is lying are worn through. After the soldiers had seen the body, they moved on a short distance and made their camp for the night. After the camp was ready, one of the sergeants asked the captain for leave. I had this directly from the captain. He said to the sergeant, I believe I know what you wish to do. You are going to attempt to touch that body. Now, unless you give me your word of honor that you will not attempt to touch it, I will refuse you the leave. The sergeant gave his word. He got his leave, and he went up to observe the body. At that time, the officers carried what is known as a little quirk. He walked up to the body and attempted to touch it with that quirk, and he fell dead. The captain told me I was the first one to be notified, and of course my first thought was that someone was watching and had shot the man in revenge. But the captain said he went there immediately and made a thorough examination of the soldier's body, and there wasn't a mark on it. This experience was reported to the War Department in London, and it is on file there today. In our laboratory, we have made experiments with the condition called death. The tests have not been our own developments, but have been carried out by a camera taking thousands of exposures a second. An image is imposed upon a running point of light. When photographed, the film records an assembly of points of light from which we get the completed image. This is then reproduced under high magnification and slowed down until it can be thrown on an ordinary screen. It can then be X-rayed, showing the complete formation of a life element.